not here. And Apollo Power Yoga Limited, Margot Perker. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Right, Apollo Power Yoga Limited has asked you to stop tilting the playing field so far in favour of suburban businesses. And in doing that, we've asked you to go further than what you're proposing and give 2 hours free parking off-street and on-street for the benefit of people trying to come in and patronise central city businesses. Right now, the playing field is tilted very much in favour of suburban businesses. It is really difficult to run a business in the central city. There's still roadworks everywhere, and I'm going to get back to that later. It makes it very difficult to get to the businesses. Once they get here, it's difficult to find a park if they want to park on street. I appreciate that now we've got off-street parking, but a lot of people still want to park on street if they're just popping into a shop. They don't want to go to the trouble of driving up into a parking building and then popping into the shop and, again, reversing the process. There's still big gaps in between the buildings that can make it quite intimidating to walk around the central city. And now we've got homeless people sleeping in front of our businesses as well. So it's really hard anyway. And then you charge for parking in the central city, on the city council-owned streets, but you don't do that in the suburbs. So you give suburban businesses the benefit of having free parking right outside their businesses, on the streets, and you don't give the same benefit to central city businesses. And it does make a difference. It seems like a trivial thing, but it does make a difference. So I'm going to tell you from the point of view of a central city business, and also I'm going to talk to you about the point of view of a central city customer, what kind of difference that makes. We ran the studio in Hereford Street in the ground floor of the Ibis Hotel for 4 years. And because Hamish, my husband, who set up the business, he had worked at a suburban yoga studio before we set up Apollo. A lot of people knew him. They knew he was a good teacher, and they followed us into the central city and came to our yoga studio. And when they stopped coming, I would always chase them up. And I would say, well, what's going on? You were coming to our studio and now you're not. And they'd say, it's just too tough getting past the roadblocks. It stresses me out. I'm trying to go to yoga to de-stress, and it's stressing me out to get to your studio. And I get there, and it's hard to find a park, and it's expensive. It can add another $6 onto the cost of an $18 class, which makes it a really expensive class. And so even though I don't like the studio out in Rickerton or the one out in the Tannery as much as your studio, I give up. I'm going to them. And when we moved Apollo out to Victoria Street in July last year, they all came back. We did 50% more business after we moved than we were before. It makes that big a difference to central city businesses because they can get to us. There aren't yet roadblocks out in Victoria Street. You can park around there really easily, and the parking is only $2 an hour. And it made a huge difference, a 50% difference to our business. And that's the story of every central city business. They're getting that sort of dampening effect on who will come to them, and is instead going out to suburban businesses instead of central city businesses. It's that big a difference. From the point of view of a customer, I got contacted by a little a dance wear studio that's set up in New Regent Street, and they said, look, we also have yoga clothing. Can you tell all your yoga students about our business? And I said, yeah, that's fine. I better come over there and check you out first. And so I thought I'd stop in on my way into the studio, and I left myself sort of 20 minutes to pop in and chat to these people. And trying to get to New Regent Street, I drove round and round in circles, not able to not able to find a park, not able to get near. And finally, actually, when I did, and it was just because of all the detours. It wasn't that I was trying to get close. It was just the detours seemed to lead me further and further away from where I was trying to get. When I finally got into the city council car park that's in Manchester Street, on the corner of Manchester and Gloucester, that would be. So it's just a gravel pit, the way the rest of the parts, but not as bad as some of them. And there was 1 hour free parking there at that time. And it just, as a customer, it really made me feel, because I'd been feeling up until then, they just don't want me here. And you get there, and I thought, yeah, maybe they do. Maybe they do. And it's, it's only $1 or $2, but it makes a difference to customers. It makes them feel like they're not unwanted in the central city, that they are wanted. It makes a difference. On the point of, you know, how much money, do any of you know how much money the city council gets from central city car parking, on-street parking, and then the fines that result when people haven't paid enough? Do any of you know? $10 million. $10 million. $10 million. $10 million. And that's all coming out of the pockets of central city customers. And it can be the difference between, you know, if someone's coming in and they've got to pay $6 to park and do their yoga class, are they thinking, and now I'm going to pop into that cafe and have a coffee? No, they're thinking, no, I've already spent enough money. And they don't. You know, it's all money that city council's getting, and then, you know, you're begrudgingly, maybe, possibly giving some back to the Central City Business Association, nothing back otherwise to attract people into the Central City. You're just milking the Central City like a cash cow and giving nothing back. And that's not right. Yes?
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I just had one question. Is that a net figure? I mean, does that include the cost of the wardens that go and issue the tickets? And
I don't know. I made an Official Information Act request, and they said the revenue from, it was about half and half, revenue from actual people paying their parking fees and then their fines, and it all added up to, close to $10 million.
There was $1.5 million surplus last time we had a report on it.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow that one up because it's a quite important point. Jamie, did you?
Thanks, Margot. Would you be interested, because obviously, you know, the money has to come from somewhere, nothing is ever free. Would you be open to council exploring, if it was of a mind to continue this, potential funding sources from the commercial rating differential? And I guess the irony around that would be that it would mean that the Westfields and Northlands and show places would be helping pay for central city parking, which I'd actually quite like.
Well, in a way, the subsidy is currently going the other way, isn't it? Because you're providing all the suburban businesses with free parking on the streets in front of them. They've got the benefit of your streets for their customers, and central city businesses don't. So there's actually a subsidy going in the other direction currently, isn't there?
So I'm just asking from a funding source, as a submitter and business owner who's in support of the free parking initiative, as a funding source from that, the commercial rating differential. I guess what I'm saying is you can't do it through development contributions because that's capital expenditure for the infrastructure. This is an OPEX cost, but rates, for instance, is operational expenditure from the money gained from rates. So if you put it onto the commercial rating differential, that would mean that businesses such as the airport and Showplace, Westfield, Northlands, they'd hate it, I get that, but I'm okay with that. Are you?
Well, I think you just need to make it fair, I suppose. You know, if you were going to apply that, you would have to apply it both central city and suburban businesses. It's really all that I'm asking. So whatever the mechanism is, whether it's, you know, setting up parking meters all up and down the suburban business streets in the same way as you do in the central city, or whether you use rates, as long as it's fair to all the businesses, is all that I'm asking. Yeah,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's great. Did anyone else have a question? No. Look, thank you very much, Margot. Great. Thank you.